Mandira. Welcome to AglaSem, and today we are going to be studying Class 10, Chapter number 5, Popular Struggles and Movements. So in this chapter, we are going to talk about the different popular struggles that have taken place all across the world and what are pressure groups. Pressure groups एक democracy में exist क्यों करते हैं and what motive do they have and all those kinds of things. So let's start with the first heading, which is popular struggles in Nepal and Bolivia. सबसे पहले नेपाल की struggle की बात करते हैं. Okay, so you might recall that Nepal has witnessed an extraordinary movement. हमने पहले की classes में ये पढ़ा है. थोड़ा सा उस movement का एक flow chart बनाते हैं. सबसे पहले क्या था? King Birendra, who accepted his transition from absolute monarchy to a constitutional monarchy. He was killed in a mysterious massacre in 2001. Then King Gyanendra, the new king of Nepal, was not prepared to accept the democratic rule. He took advantage of the weakness and unpopularity of the democratically elected government और उसने सब prime minister king सब dismiss कर दिया, ठीक है? To take all the powers in his hands. Then all the majority political parties, they formed a 7-party alliance against the king, obviously. And the protest soon turned into an indefinite strike in which the Maoist insurgents and various other organizations joined hands. Basically, it was everybody against the king. 21st April को उन्होंने एक ultimatum दिया king को and basically said that the leaders of the movement they rejected the जो उन्होंने half-hearted concessions दिए थे king ने उनको उन्होंने reject कर दिया. Ultimatum के last day पे उन्होंने king को force किया to concede to all the demands and they restored the parliament and met and passed laws and basically formed the new constituent assembly that was to be elected. ठीक है? तो this was basically the struggle in Nepal. एक absolute monarchy से constitutional monarchy तक तो ready हो ही गए थे, but अब सीधा democratic form of government पे उन्होंने अपने struggle के through achieve किया. Next हम बात करते हैं Bolivia's water war. This is about a country in Latin America, Bolivia, जिसके लिए the World Bank pressurized the government to give up its control of the water supply. The government sold all the rights of Cochabamba, which is it's a multinational company. ठीक है? So the company immediately increased the prices of water by 4 times. Many people received a monthly water bill of 1,000 rupees in a country where the average income is around 5,000. तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा पानी के prices बढ़ गए because it was sold to a multinational corporation and the multinational corporation only exists to make its own profits. ठीक है? तो in January 2000, the new alliance of labor, human rights and community leaders organized a successful 4-day strike in the city. The government agreed to negotiate the strike and the strike was called off. Yet nothing happened. Prices उतने के उतने ही रहे. Finally, फिर क्या हुआ? Power of people forced the officials of the MNC to flee the country and made the government concede to all their demands, and everything was back to normal. So water होता है या salt होता है, ये सब necessities होती हैं. इन पे एक तो सरकार tax नहीं लगा सकती और prices भी सरकार regulate करती है, because these are necessities and you cannot ask for a higher price or cannot make profit out of it. ठीक है? So अब बात करते हैं next heading, democracy and popular struggles. अभी हमने 2 popular struggles की बात करी, one in Bolivia and one in Nepal. So in Nepal it was to achieve a democratic government, and in Bolivia it was to lower the prices of a necessity, which was water, and this came with the Bolivia's water war जो हमने भी discuss किया. So थोड़े differences इनमें हैं, but both these instances are of political conflict that led to popular struggles. ठीक है? In both the cases the struggle involved mass mobilization. Public demonstrations of marked support clinched the dispute. Finally, both instances involved a critical role of the political organization. अगर लोग सड़क पे जमा होके प्रोटेस्ट नहीं कर रहे, नारे नहीं लगा रहे, सरकार को प्रेशराइज नहीं करते, तो ये सारे चेंजेस नहीं होते. ना ही नेपाल में डेमोक्रेसी आती और ना ही बोलिविया में वाटर का प्राइस कम होता. ये इनमें है कॉमनैलिटी. ठीक है? We can therefore draw some conclusions. What are those conclusions? Number 1, democracy evolves through. Evolve करना मतलब grow करना. ठीक है? Popular struggles, it is possible that some significant decisions may take place through consensus and may not involve any conflict at all. That's fine, but some will. ठीक है? जैसे हमारा recently farm laws पे major protests were taking place because the farmers in fact think that those laws are not in their favor. So this is an example of a popular protest. ठीक है? Democratic conflict is resolved through mass mobilization. Sometimes it is possible for the conflict. आपने देखा होगा कभी वो footage दिखा रहे थे बीच में तिकरी border and especially because I stay in Delhi, तो उसके आसपास वो है, मतलब हमारे जो गाजीपुर बॉर्डर है, तिकरी बॉर्डर है, they were mass mobilization. बहुत सारे लोग वहाँ पे जमा हुए थे and they were protesting. ठीक है? So this is called mass mobilization. I think in all parts of India, even in parts of UP, parts of southern India as well, there were demonstrations against these laws. These conflicts and mobilizations are based on new political organizations. Thus, there is an element of spontaneity in these historic movements. ये क्या है? There can be many agencies of an organized politics. These include political parties, pressure groups and movement groups. तो अब हम बात करते हैं कि ये सब हैं क्या. ये हैं हमारे एक प्रेशर या पॉलिटिकल ग्रुप्स जो हमारे मोबिलाइजेशन के ग्रुप्स हैं. पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज अपनी जगह एग्जिस्ट करती हैं, दे आर गवर्निंग द नेशन, दैट्स फाइन. लेकिन दीज ग्रुप्स आर ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर सर्टन सेक्शंस ऑफ द सोसाइटी बिकॉज ये इसके थ्रू ही people can communicate if they are not happy with the current laws or the current, the way the government is governing. ठीक है? Okay, let's talk about mobilizations and organization. So the protest against water privatization in Bolivia was not led by any political party. It was led by an organization called FEDECO. This is an organization that comprises of professionals, engineers, environmentalists. ठीक है? तो ये एक पार्टी का वो नहीं था, but it was supported by the Socialist Party, which was the opposition party, I'm guessing. But it was not movement, मतलब एक political party नहीं थी per se. ठीक है? तो similarly in this also जो SPA था हमारा alliance, that had some big parties in it, but mostly they were a pressure group against the government. A very good example of a pressure group, popular mass mobilization converting into a party is the Aam Aadmi Party, because it started off as I think उन्होंने RTI के लिए बहुत struggle किया था, फिर उन्होंने जन लोकपाल के लिए बहुत struggle किया, and ultimately they decided that they will step into politics, and they have been governing Delhi since the past 10 years. So that is a very good example of how a pressure group or a movement group converted into a political party. ठीक है? And it is very rare for that to happen. बहुत ही rarely ऐसा होता है. And it's good for the strength of a democracy कि ऐसा भी हुआ. People actually voted for the cause that they thought that they were protesting against. That's good. So from both these examples, we can see that in democracy, several different kinds of organizations work behind a big struggle. ठीक है? The organization play the roles in two different ways. One is obviously influencing directly participation. वही जो मैं आपको बता रही हूँ कि जो प्रेशर ग्रुप था उनका वही पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बन गया, तो उन्होंने ऑब्वियसली नाउ दे आर रूलिंग दिल्ली, so they can pass that bill. ठीक है? Secondly, obviously by pressuring the government, by mass mobilizations, by international press, है ना, कि बहुत सारा अगर इंटरनेशनल प्रेस में पब्लिश होगा that see the citizens of this country are not happy. जैसे हमने लास्ट उसमें पढ़ा था ना कि अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन कम्युनिटी ने ओलंपिक्स में जाके दे एक्सप्रेस देयर डिसेंट ऑन द डिस्क्रिमिनेशन इन अमेरिका. तो जब ऐसा होता है तो इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी भी लाइट शेड करती है, दैट ऑल्सो क्रिएट्स प्रेशर, स्पेशली अब जब सोशल मीडिया एंड एवरीथिंग एग्जिस्ट्स. ठीक है? सो प्रेशर ग्रुप्स एंड मूवमेंट्स की बात करते हैं. नेक्स्ट हेडिंग, डिफरेंट काइंड्स होती है. एंटी लिकर मूवमेंट विच इज अगेंस्ट द कंजम्पशन ऑफ अल्कोहल, विमेन्स मूवमेंट्स, feminist movements जो equality between men and women they ask for, environmental movements that talk about climate change and more greener policies. ठीक है? They depend much more on spontaneous mass participation than an interest group. आप देखो कभी भी ये सारी मूवमेंट्स जो होती हैं वो सडनली स्परियसली ग्रो करती हैं. ऐसा नहीं होता है कि बहुत प्लान्ड और पास करना पड़ा लॉ या अंदर भी उनका पूरा एक सेटअप चल रहा है. थोड़ा बहुत होता है लेकिन दे आर स्पर ऑफ द मोमेंट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. Some other groups that exist are sectional interest groups. These are trade bodies, trade unions, है ना, जो जैसे आपने कभी देखा होगा कि रजौरी गार्डन की ट्रेड यूनियन है या करोल बाग ट्रेड यूनियन है ना, वो उस एरिया के भाई जो भी मार्केट है आपकी लोकेलिटी में जो भी मार्केट्स होंगे उनकी एक ट्रेड यूनियन है जो उनके इंटरेस्ट्स के लिए बात करती है. उनका एक लीडर है, वो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं, है ना. सो दे टॉक अबाउट इन फेवर ऑफ दैट वन पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप दैट इज द बिजनेसमैन ऑफ दैट एरिया. ठीक है? ऐसे ही कास्ट रिलीजन सब ग्रुप के भी हो सकते हैं. तो रिलीजन का भी डेफिनेटली आप बताओ कौन सा एक सेक्शनल इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप है जो एक पर्टिकुलर रिलीजन को प्रमोट करता है. सब अपने अपने रिलीजन्स के प्लीज कमेंट देम डाउन. फेडेको ऑब्वियसली इज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो बोलिविया में थी, जो एक एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट और इंजीनियर्स की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट वाज प्रोटेस्टिंग अगेंस्ट द हाई प्राइसेस ऑफ द वाटर. ठीक है? तो अब सेकंड टाइप ऑफ ग्रुप्स आर कॉल्ड प्रमोशनल ग्रुप्स. ये तो हो गए हमारे सेक्शनल इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप्स जो दे आर प्रमोटिंग अ सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. बट अब हमारे आते हैं प्रमोशनल ग्रुप्स. दे प्रमोट कलेक्टिव रादर देन सिलेक्टिव गुड. फॉर एग्जाम्पल बॉन्डेड लेबर के अगेंस्ट फाइट या डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के अगेंस्ट जो ग्रुप्स होते हैं दैट दे फाइट. आई फील लाइक इवन एनवायरमेंटल कॉजेस के लिए जो लोग लड़ते हैं, BAMSEF की बात करते हैं, बैकवर्ड एंड माइनॉरिटी कम्युनिटीज एम्प्लॉयज फेडरेशन, organization largely made up of government employees that campaigns against caste discrimination. This is for the larger good. This is not a sectional group. ठीक है? मूवमेंट ग्रुप्स की बात करते हैं. मूवमेंट ग्रुप्स एग्जैक्टली जो नेपालीज मूवमेंट हुआ, दैट दोज आर मूवमेंट ग्रुप्स. नर्मदा बचाओ आंदोलन एंड इवन चिपको मूवमेंट आई थिंक इज अ मूवमेंट ग्रुप. These are issue specific movement that seek to achieve a single objective within a limited time frame. Exactly right. जन लोकपाल बिल पास करो, that is a movement group. ठीक है, जो हमारे यहाँ प्रोटेस्ट हुआ था बहुत पहले की आई थिंक बात हो गई अब. तो that is a movement group. Single issue movements can be contrasted with movements that are long term. For example, caste violence जो है या caste discrimination है, वो कोई एक single movement नहीं है. एक particular बंदे के लिए उनको caste discrimination end नहीं करना, उनको पूरी country में हर बंदे के लिए end करना है. But इनको एक particular cause के लिए they are fighting. ठीक है, single movement groups जो होते हैं हमारे. अब how do all these groups influence politics? Number one, they try to gain public support and sympathy for their goals, organizing meetings, ये सब करते हैं. They often organize protest activities like strikes and disrupting the government. लोग कहते हैं ना कि ये रास्ता ब्लॉक कर रखा है, they are causing so much inconvenience. That's the point. That the public will be inconvenienced and then they will pay attention to what they are trying to say. They will also pressure government and then the government will change their laws or look into the whatever their interest is, whatever their policy is. ठीक है. Business groups often employ professional lobbyists or sponsors for expensive advertisements. Some people from pressure group of movement may participate in official bodies and committees that offer advice to the government. जैसे कहते हैं कि आप इनकी जो movement की एक committee बनाओ और उनसे government can directly have talks to negotiate. ठीक है. While they do not engage in party politics, कभी-कभी जैसे I told you, कभी-कभी they convert into a party, but they usually don't do that. In some instances, the pressure groups are either formed or led by leaders of political parties as an act of extended arms of the political party. ठीक है, तो जैसे आपने देखा होगा कभी भी कोई प्रोटेस्ट पे बैठे तो ऑपोजिशन के लीडर्स विल ऑलवेज गो एंड टॉक टू देम बिकॉज दे वांट टू फाइंड कि इस करंट सरकार ने ऐसा क्या किया जो ये लोग वो कर रहे हैं. दैट्स व्हाई the stature of opposition in a country is also very important. Some political parties grow out of movements. यही जो मैं आपको बता रही थी, आम आदमी पार्टी मोस्ट रिसेंट एग्जाम्पल. The roots of the parties of DMK and AIDMK, which is two major parties in Tamil Nadu, can be traced through a long-driven social reform movement in 30s and 40s. Okay, and in most cases, the relationship between parties and interests are not so direct. काफी indirectly they talk. Is this influence healthy? Yes, it is, because in a way they are इंश्योरिंग कि जो भी गवर्नमेंट ने लॉज पास किए हैं, जो भी गवर्नमेंट के ओपिनियंस हैं, उनके अगेंस्ट अगर कोई है तो वो उसको एक वॉइस प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं. But they also can turn violent quickly. They can also be misinterpreted. They can divide the society in certain extreme instances. So या फिर riots अगर कभी हो जाते हैं, CA आपने कभी सुना होगा जो भी laws पास हुए उसके against दो pressure groups बने थे. They were actually they turned pretty ugly and violent. So that's not a good thing about that. So basically is to ensure that you peacefully protest and you make sure that you are under the constitutional obligation when you protest. ठीक है. So the government gets to hear about different sections. That's a good thing. The rough balance of power they are accommodating, they are checking in for that, but we should make sure that they don't turn violent. So I hope you understood this chapter and what pressure groups are in brief. And if you have any questions, comment them down. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. And do subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening.